Happy New Year, RJ. How are you doing, man?
Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm doing well. As usual, after the Christmas break, I feel like I need a break, but it was good. It was a good time off. I was sick a couple days, so that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
In the end, I guess it's also a good time to get the body regenerated, charge the batteries, and maybe part of being sick and staying in bed all day when the family is skiing is part of that. How about you?
Doing just fine.
You visited some family, I think.
Yep. Visited family for Christmas. It was wonderful. And got back. And my in-laws will be coming into town in 6 days. So we'll have even more family. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. It's actually going to make recording on Sunday night very interesting because it's going to be a very full house. We'll have to find the quiet corner somewhere. We'll make it work.
Hide in the bottom of the empty pool or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just go sit down there and bundle up. It is very cold here in Florida. We're getting a taste of winter, and I say that tongue firmly in cheek because our cold is not anybody else's cold, but it's 9 degrees. It's going to get down to 2 tonight. So
what is that? Not Celsius, right?
That's Celsius. That's not Fahrenheit. We're not getting that cold.
Look at you! Yeah. You're starting to think like a Canadian.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. So it's chilly. We have our jackets on. You guys would think it was a warm summer breeze.
Emergency gloves and scraper in the car and stuff.
Emergency gloves and scraper. Yeah, we had a 10% chance of snow later this week. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see.
Are you serious?
A snow. Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah, we have to wrap up our trees, not our trees, but our plants to make sure that they don't freeze. Some of them.
Oh, sorry.
Our poor little plants.
Yeah. Oh,
we have
2 weeks earlier, and you would have had a white Christmas in Florida.
Hey, actually, a couple of years ago, it did happen. So, a town about 45 minutes away, right on the coast, they had some snow flurries on Christmas.
You sure it's not that foam that they use?
It was not the foam.
Santa?
No, it was not the foam. It was the real stuff. So, anyway, did you get a chance to watch any biathlon over the holidays? Rewatch any old races? Did you tune into the races in Schalke?
Well, when I was sick, I think I started to rewatch the Canmore races because I realized I never saw the ones on TV because I was there. And I think I fell asleep all 3 times.
Good. So that's what your body needed.
Yeah. And it's amazing how I find watching, like recently I've been watching it with the German commentary. And that's what I always used to do back in Holland on Saturday morning, get up early and then watch a biathlon there. And there's just something soothing to it. So it didn't shock me that I felt really relaxed and comfortable and fell asleep. But yeah, so I watched a bit of that, and then the Al Schalke broadcast was pretty exciting to see that. But other than that, I haven't really focused on biathlon much. Yesterday was my first time back at the range. Did not go very well, but it was also very cold. It wasn't like it was, I think, -10, -12, so nothing crazy. But then we were right next to the snow make machine.
Oh no!
And that's not
pleasant.
The skiing is hard because it's like you're skiing on gum or glue, and it was cold. And there's layers of ice on everything, and then once your hands and toes get cold, it's pretty hard to keep them warm again. So.
Well, especially with shooting, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how the athletes do it, but it's that cold out and your fingers are frozen. You just gotta.
Yeah, and I've tried with thicker gloves.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't work. Like you get these. I don't know if there's a term for it, but sometimes you shove your finger with your thick glove in there and you pull the trigger accidentally. So, I mean, if you go to the range one day, you'll see bullet holes in places where you're like, how the hell? Well, on camera,
what were they doing?
Never mind. Yeah. It's good evidence that there's a reason why there's always a big wall of dirt behind a range for sure.
No kidding. Yeah. Yeah, it could be pretty disastrous.
How about you? I know you watch Schalke as well.
I did. Yeah. So this is actually my first time watching it live. I have seen it on delay, right? But this is my first time watching it live, which, it's still crazy to me, having grown up here, that these people pack a stadium and it gets this prime time slot, and I'm watching it live, and they've got Sven Fischer there, and they've got Denise Herman-Vick there doing the commentary, and it looks like you're tuning into like an NFL game or an NBA game, right? And it's biathlon, and it's in prime time, and like the production quality is so high, and they've got this studio setup for people to do the commentary in this this big stadium, and it looks majestic. I mean, it looks fantastic. And so that was, my big takeaway is just the experience is so different. And I'm envious. I'm just persistently envious. And then my other thing I was thinking about, the race is fun. And I would, anytime they want to have one of these, I will tune in and watch it. I thought it was interesting how many near wipeouts there were. It just seemed like
you said the race was fun, and my first thought was, I wonder if the athletes felt like that, because especially that U-turn at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, they were everybody. I think Fabien Claude
on the wall, or
no, he clipped the wall with a ski. I can't remember who sat down. There were a couple of collisions.
Biba went down, I think.
Biba went down, yeah. So that was a little tricky there. I didn't take any notes about the race. The only thing I remember is that I think that Noten and Legride missed about one time in the pursuit portion of the race, and they sort of.
And I remember that Preutz and she skied with Narath, right?
Yes,
I think Preutz she took an extra shot.
Yeah,
and it seemed weird because it seemed like she had one miss, but then on the 5 dots on the right of the screen, it went all clear.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I wonder if she had like a malfunction or whatever, but it sounded like she just was autopilot and in a relay thinking, oh, I could just reload.
Yep.
So they had a 30-second penalty, I believe.
Yeah. I forgot about that. It was fun. It was fun to watch it happen. I was happy for the for the German fans that they had, I believe 2 of their teams were on the podium. I guess their 2 teams were on the podium. That was fun. It was enjoyable. And like I said, I would sit down and watch one of these anytime they want to have one. And I will especially say that they timed it perfectly. It fit right into nap time. So it was just the most well-timed biathlon race of the season.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, like you say, the production quality, and it is amazing. But I also, it highlights the crowd in biathlon, that even though, yes, it was great for the Germans to have teams on the podium, but they would be just as happy if there weren't.
Yeah.
Well, not happy for the German team, but it's not I know Annecy gets a little, I don't even want to say partial, but yeah, of course they root harder or louder for their own. But I don't think there's a lot of, I hate this athlete or that athlete. I think there's a lot of respect for all athletes, and, you root for your home favorites. And that was the other thing, like the downhill on that turn really demonstrated how tough cross-country skiing is. Because, when you look at someone like JT Bow or any skiers on this field, it looks so easy and so smooth. And then it makes you think like, well, the technique itself doesn't look too hard. It's just more that they're super fit. But it makes you realize that if top athletes of the world struggle with a turn like that, and it was a horrible turn in the sense too that, it was probably icy, but it was a lot of snow piled up. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you get into that, you lose your balance and stuff. And it just makes you realize that even professional athletes that, do this for a living, they still really struggle with turns like that. So I think in a way that was interesting, but it's, I don't know. I was confused by it a bit because the point where they come out of the turn, there's a lot of space for the crowd. So it really made me think, couldn't they have made that turn a bit wider?
Yeah, I'm sure they could have.
It seemed like there was a lot of spots for it, but anyway, I was happy for all, and in particular Preutz, to see that everybody got out uninjured, because with her luck, I knock on wood, but that would have been such a typical thing for her to be in the yellow bib and have a fall at an event like that. So
yeah, it was
everything was good.
Everybody made it out uninjured. It was a fun day, and I just, as an American watching it, I had a good time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, RJ, you've been hard at work, and this is really what I wanted to chat about today. You've been hard at work, crunching some numbers for us. How about you tell us what you've been working on?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it on earlier pods. I know that it's pretty early to start comparing numbers from this season to previous seasons, obviously related to the change in start bibs. So I haven't really done a lot of analysis, and I'm definitely not capable of doing like a true statistical analysis on it. But I just want to see if I can visualize the change, or the impact basically that the change of bibs and results of the top 15 athletes have. And as with so many projects that I do, it doesn't sound too complicated. It's like, you just get the bibs and where they sit, and then decide what group they're in, and then see if it has an impact. But then you realize that the first World Cup weekend, they look at the total score rankings of the previous season. So then, you have to get that in there. And then this year, so you have the two groups, I think it's blue and green, that are, top 15 and then 16 to 30. But then you have people that qualify based on IBU qualification points, which is data that is not easily accessible, or not as easily as the others. And then I have to kind of read into that, how that really works with what score they use, if it's the last race or the last trimester. So there was a lot of, trying to figure out, actually going through the rules book or a rules guide, just to figure out how these groups are decided. And then, of course, you still have within the groups of 15 athletes that there's a random draw. So there was definitely moments where I was like, I don't, is it really worth it? But I think it's still, it shows some interesting trends at this point. But like I said, I try not to spend too much time until there's more data for this season. But I did also add some data for the skiing results, just to see, not so much looking at race results, but more like if you're in a lower group, if people like JT Bow go from, say, 3% faster than average now to only 2% because of the conditions. But as with all these different analyses, you have to take it with so much grains of salt, because perfect snow conditions, when it's cold and the hard packed snow, the impact's going to be a lot less than when it's what we may see this weekend in Oberhof with wet and slushy. Mm-hmm. That, as the race progresses, definitely gets tougher to get into, and then you still have to keep in mind, the factor that we can never really calculate the waxing skills and abilities of the teams, of course. So it's going to, impact with bad snow is going to impact teams with, less budget and skills or know-how on the waxing. And so, yeah, I always, that always comes into my head at some point when I'm really having a hard time getting the data the way I want it. It's like, well, there's so many factors that you can't embed into it, that is it even worth it? But I still think, it's when you have enough athletes with enough race data, I think it can highlight some trends. And on top of that, I just enjoy doing it. So
you can't get it out of you. You just have to give into the desire to dive in.
Yeah, there was a while where I really wanted to dive more into the statistical analysis, and I know that's just not really my skill set. Like I've taken courses and everything, so it's not that I know nothing about it, but I just really enjoy looking at more like the results of analysis and then how to communicate that to other people to, create the ability to just look at something quickly and get a general idea of the, impact of a change or something like that.
So you know what it's telling you.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you find?
So right now I'm still working on it. I'm not going to come to any conclusion yet. Like I said, I want more data. But I feel like I have sort of a template set up that once the data comes in, I just need to update the data and then we'll start seeing some trends. So I will probably post this first bit in about a week or so, and then I'll just post it on Instagram so people can have a look.
In a week. So this will be just first trimester data, or will you be also putting in the Oberhof data as well?
No, that will probably be trimester 1 data still. But
well, I'm looking forward to it. My guess, knowing nothing, my guess is that we'll see no difference. I don't think that the courses have been tough enough. Not tough enough. That's not the right word. I think the conditions have been good, so relatively. So I think that we're going to be seeing okay. We're not seeing dramatic drop off in performance.
So when you think of the race where Uldal won,
yeah,
do you think that would have been the same result if
that's a good point.
And JT Bow would have switched bibs?
No, that's a good point. But I think it would have been close. I think it would have been close either way. I think that the result might have changed, but I don't think that JT would have won by a huge margin. But it might have just been, instead of losing by 1.4 seconds, he wins by 1.4 seconds. Maybe. I don't know. So
then if the end of the season, Emilien Jacquelin wins the Globe with 2 points ahead of JT Bow.
Yeah, then that made a difference.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If that happens, oh boy, I cannot imagine.
Well, but then you can also say, Jacquelin is also in the same group as Bow, so he could have gained a few spots too, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be enlightening. Any news and notes that have struck your fancy over the last couple of weeks?
No, I think the French girl, Chloe
Chevalier. Yeah.
And I don't think the reason in particular is known, but if you look, like the French women's team is just so packed, and I think they have the spot 1, 2, and 5 or something on the IBU Cup. So it's not like there's any, future changes in the sense that there would be spots opening up, like Simon and Justine Brézard-Boucher, even though it feels like they must be in their 40s. They're only 27 or 28.
Yeah.
So they're going to be, you would think they would be around for quite a while.
Yep.
And then, you have Jean Monod still, and some other girls that have been performing quite well that are back in the IBU Cup now. But yeah, there's just so much talent and so many young women that also need a chance to prove themselves. I think the number 1 and 2 from the IBU Cup are going to start on the World Cup, if I remember correctly, in Oberhof.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if that was the main reason, but it can be motivating. And I heard on the German podcast, Extra Runde, that at the end of last season, she was already debating if she would continue or not. So if things are, there's those seasons where you start off with like really good races and it sets you up for a really good season, and other seasons where you just have some crappy results. And she wasn't bad by any means, but maybe not what she'd hoped. And then working for it, if you already have some doubt, must be really hard. So I hope for her that now that she's decided, even though I'm sure she'll miss the racing, that it's also a good feeling. And,
yeah. She had an interview, I believe it was with Chalet Club, and she mentioned actually exactly what you're talking about, how, after having been on the World Cup and, now she was on the IBU Cup and she doesn't really know, right? She kind of with what age she is and with what the competition is. I'm paraphrasing what she said, but I mean, but she was pretty clear about it. That she didn't know if she really wanted to keep putting in the work it was going to take to stay where she was right now,
right.
Which is
Maybe
totally reasonable.
Was it Philip Fjeld Anderson?
Yeah.
Who retired, I think, similar conditions where it's like, okay, well, I do everything I can, and still, I could be top 10 for any other nation, top 10 on a World Cup, yet I can't make the Norwegian team.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was, when I first heard the news, like what I actually thought about was, do you remember when she got her podium a couple of years ago? I think it was in Antholz. Yeah. And her sister was, they had the clips of her watching Chloe, as she's racing, and it was just a really cool moment. And we see the Bow boys, on the podium together all the time, so it's not really the same. Or you see the Ubergs, it's not really the same. But watching, watching them celebrate together it was a really cool moment. And so that's the mental picture I'm going to have for her career is them celebrating that. Mm-hmm. And like you said, like this year, she actually mentioned that, she had a decent start to the season, and not knowing if she was going to come back or kind of, where she was going to be, she wanted to leave. She was happier leaving with a good taste in her mouth, sorry, happier leaving with some, better races, and knowing that she could do it, and just leaving on her terms. And so it's interesting. She's not, we've had some big high profile retirements in the last few years. And she is not one of those, but strangely, I almost feel more of a connection with her than I did with some of the other women. And I can't explain it. I don't know why. I think it was just something about, she had an older sister who was really, really successful, and I was always rooting for her to have success as well. And anyway, I'm hoping that whatever comes next for her is going to be quite gratifying.
And she did have some wins in the relay races.
Mm-hmm. So. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So what you said triggered two questions in my head.
Yeah.
One is for this season, you were talking about sisters on the podium. Do you think the Oberg sisters will be on the podium at least once this season? Together?
Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on how Hannah looks when she comes back, because she got sick before the season, and she never really looked like she recovered. I mean, she just did not look like herself at all. She missed Annecy, and now she's coming back. Elvira can certainly make a podium, right? She's been fast enough. She's second in the overall, so I could see that happening. With what we saw in the first trimester, I would bet against it, but Hannah could come out and Oberhofer Ruhpolding and prove me totally wrong.
Yeah, it's always hard, right? When you see an athlete struggle to envision that after 2 or 3 weeks off, that everything will be different all of a sudden. But
yeah, well, and the other thing is, I think the Bow brothers, with all the success they've had, I think they've been on the podium together 19 times, which is a lot, but that's about 1.4 times, 1.3 times per season. So, right, so it's a big ask to get them both on the podium at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough. The other thing you were talking about, Chloe retiring sort of at the higher end of her career. How do you feel about Veer in that regard? Is she trying to reach? Obviously, she's still very good, and clearly she has the goal of participating next year in her hometown. But how do you see the risk of her dragging it on just a little bit too long and going out with a fizzle rather than the big boom that she deserves?
I'm not worried about it. And I will admit that I am totally biased, but I think she can stick around as long as she wants. She's won 2 Globes, and if she wants to stick around and not have, the top tens, then that's fine by me. The other thing I think is that it's not like other women on the Italian team are pushing her out right now. Like we've seen some good results from Hannah Augenthaler and some of the other younger women, but nobody yet is even performing at Doro's level. So it's not like it's not like she's on the French team and holding a spot, or the Norwegian men's team and holding a spot that maybe should go to somebody else. So I think.
No, I'm not suggesting that she should retire now, but.
I know what you mean.
I would hate to see her, kind of just.
Yeah. Yeah, she's coming to the end of her career.
Like in 40s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you wish for everybody to go out like Eric Lesser did, but I don't think that's given for many people, right?
Yeah, or Fourcade winning his last race. Yeah. So, I hope that she has success right up until the end, and she hasn't been bad. But I agree. It could end not maybe in the way that she's envisioning.
Yeah. I mean, so far she's always been on the radar, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's look her up real quick. I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but let's look real quick. This season, she has 3 top 10s in 8 races.
A lot of people would be excited about that. So
I would certainly take it.
Maybe just more because she's been at the top so long that maybe it feels a bit going downhill. But it's really not a bad season at all. No,
she's currently 13th in the overall, which would be her worst finish in the overall since 2013-14, not including last season, which she barely raced at all.
13th would be
would be her worst. Yep. So in 2013-2014, she was 15th, and since then she went 7th, 3rd, 5th, 5th, 1st, 5th, 9th, 2nd, and then last year, where she only raced a couple of times, she was 40th. And I think she'll get better as the year goes on. I'm gonna hold on to that hope.
Well, and I think she must be on the Olympic plan already, right? Like this is all for her. This must be because is she from Antholz? I believe. I
don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But I agree. I think this year is training for next year, really.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's kind of like I know nothing about Lisa Vitozzi's situation, but I can only imagine that everything that she's working on right now, either to recover or whatever it is, giving her body rest, is all with the Olympics in mind too.
Yeah. I mean, the overall's out for this year, so just right. Be healthy, maybe have some good races at Worlds, and come back strong.
Exactly.
Yeah. When we were talking about Chloe Chevalier, you mentioned some changes in the French team. So I just wanted to circle back to that because Paula Botet, who is leading the IBU Cup women's race right now, by a fairly decent margin, is coming up to the World Cup. And the French women, of course, have this backlog of talent. And so with only 6 spots, somebody had to go down. So Sophie Chauveau, who I, after the last couple of seasons would not have envisioned going down, she is going to be back on the IBU Cup, which is hard to believe, but I think you can't deny Paula Botet and what she's done. I think she has, 2 wins and 6 podiums and 7 top 4s in 8 races. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, she's been right there in every race. So I think she's more than earned the spot. And then also for the French on the IBU Cup, there is Camille Bened, Bened. I hate to butcher it, which of course I will. It's a French name. I butcher all the French names. And anyway, so she's running in second on the overall. So even though the top French woman comes up, a French woman is still leading the IBU Cup overall. So,
well, you said Botet is has a significant lead, so she would actually still be leading, even though she's not.
She will still be leading after this weekend. Yep. I mean, unless Camille Bennett, if she goes out there and wins 2 races, I think maybe she can overtake but it's
or Sophie Chauveau comes
or Sophie Chauveau comes in. Yeah. So the French women are sort of getting into Norwegian men territory with too many.
Keep thinking of Dale.
I know he went down, right? He goes to the IBU Cup, and I don't think we talked about this, but he won his first race there and got 3rd in the second race, and it's like, is that even good enough to make it back? Of course not, because there aren't enough spots. One of the things I also wanted to talk about was, speaking of Norwegian men, so this weekend, Vetle Christiansen will not be racing because, again, they've got the 6 spots and they're going to JT Tarjebo, Surum, Uldal, Stromsheim. I'm missing somebody. Lagride. Yeah, so there we go. So those are the 6, and Christiansen is sitting out.
But is he sitting out like he did last year?
He is sitting out. He is not racing on the IBU Cup. And right now, in Ruhpolding, they have an individual and a mass start. If Ruhpolding were this week, he would qualify for the mass start. But it's actually kind of close. So we'll see. We'll see if he holds on to enough points. I think he will. But that mass start in Ruhpolding could be sort of a last stand, because I think it comes down between him and Stromsheim, between who loses the spot. But
right,
it just feels weird. It just feels weird.
And in a way, I mean, you can't deny his success, of course. But Uldal, I could also see him go back again when they're like, oh well, he's still young. He'll have another shot.
Yeah, he's 23.
And I don't know if they make any like preseason plans where they're like, okay, you're going to get at least 1 trimester, or stuff like that.
We've talked about this so many times, but I both think that Ziggy Mazet is in a great position because he can pick anybody and still be okay, but also he's in a terrible position because how do you choose? So,
well, and I mean, his mindset must be, he knows that he's going to have to deny some people that could potentially even win. Yeah. Deny them the opportunity to participate, right?
Yep. Well, dollars.
I really wish there was like some sort of real life TV in the Bow Brothers hotel room when Tarja was told that he's not starting the sprint.
Yeah.
Or Dale,
you're going down. Yeah,
it must be so tough.
Yeah,
and I mean, shooting is terribly hard already, and then knowing that literally every shot can make a difference of going down to the IBU Cup or staying on the World Cup and having a chance to win a gold medal at the World Championship. Like it's
hard. It's hard for those guys. Just making the team is sort of success in and of itself.
Well, I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I remember I brought this up before, but the Dutch speed skaters were in a situation like this, and numerous athletes always said the toughest tournaments of the season, even in an Olympic season, was the Dutch qualification tournament.
Well,
and so the Olympics, once you made the Olympics, it was almost like, your second tier race of the season, because all the planning, all the energy would go to the qualification. And you could skate a world record and still not make it to like an all-round world championships or something like that. So
it's ridiculous. These guys who are on the IBU Cup, there will be opportunities. Like I think Dale initially missed Hochfilzen because of he had a back issue, which I think looking back was probably bothering him in Kontiolahti. That's why his results were not as good. Right. So Uldal gets the opportunity and he took it, right? I mean, and Surum, like he got the opportunity, to start the season, and he's performing very well. So I think he got the opportunity. There will be moments you just have to perform exceptionally when you get the chance. Because you look at the IBU Cup and you've got Boten is there, and Isaac Frey, who has won 3 IBU Cup races this year. And funny enough, Uldal is still number 3 on the IBU Cup rankings. Aspenes he's in 4th, and Bakken's in 6th. I mean, like, look, he's only getting better and better as the season goes on. So, that's crazy. Anyway, we'll continue to talk about that.
They always make me think of Matthias Arns, because I think a couple of years ago, him and I chatted about, if there was a way to sort of look into how the ski performance on the IBU Cup relates to ski performance on the World Cup, assuming that the fastest skiers on the IBU Cup are still going to be sort of middle of the field in the World Cup, because the level would be so much higher. But then to see all these Norwegians come to the World Cup and be in like the top 5 of the skiing, they mess up that whole transition like this.
Yeah,
but
you almost
the level on the IBU Cup has just really improved in the last, 5-10 years or whatever, where it seemed always to be the place where young athletes would come up and get some experience, and older athletes that didn't want to quit quite yet, were skiing. And now it's almost like, a World Cup level competition with fewer athletes at that level. But I mean, even you see like Antonin Guigona, he's been kind of shuffling back and forth, but he, when he comes to the IBU Cup, I don't know if he won, but he did quite well there, and he's actually doing quite well at the World Cup.
Right. Well, yeah, Roman Rees is down there, Lucas Fatcher's down there, Oscar Lamberto is a young guy who's run on the World Cup. I mean, they're on the women's side, you had Chloe Chevalier was there, Johanna Skottheim from Sweden, Ragnhild from Steinevek, Sophia Schneider, who just got the call up. So it's just, I think you're right. It is. There are more and more World Cup level talents on the IBU Cup, and so like if you look at like the top 15, like it's a pretty solid list. Like if you get a top 10 or a podium on a especially a podium on an IBU Cup, like, man, it's not easy. You had to be racing well. You mentioned Norwegians coming up, and it made me think, what is Uldal? How has he been doing ski wise? His average ski rank since coming up to the World Cup is 10.6. So 23-year-old comes right up, and he's already one of the fastest guys. So. Oh man. Speaking of news, Tangervold, we talked about her. I have seen nothing else, so she remains on the roster for Oberhof. I have seen nothing saying she's not going to be there. I have seen nothing further confirming her presence. So hopefully we hear some good news in the next day or so.
Yeah, I read somewhere, I think it was on a French site, but I'm not sure, that at this point they said it's sort of I think they need to finalize the athletes 2 hours before a race, and that they will make the call,
So she'll be there.
Last moment.
Yeah.
She'll be there. Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, Lisa Patazzi and Marketa Davidova are still not going to be racing this week, although it does sound like Patazzi is going to be back next week. Which will be nice. But both of them have been dealing with back issues. I feel like we've had a lot of back issues this year, which back issues make sense. I mean, you've talked about it, but it just seems like this year more than others we've had more people with back concerns.
Yeah, injuries in general, right? But I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily more, but if you're, top 2 from last year, or, well, I should say 1 and 3 from last year total score, if they're out, that it's very obvious, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. And then Davidova, who had been racing well, and Hannah, who had been racing, it's just a lot. And then the last newsy thing I had was Team USA had their second set of selection races at the mid-late December to set up the second trimester. And US Biathlon does this really funny thing where I think the Canadian team maybe does it too, but so they've got the selection races that kind of take place throughout the year, which impacts not just the IBU Cup, but the World Cup. So we will see Margie Freed, Deidre Irwin, Lucy Anderson, and Grace Castanguay will be the four for the World Cup for the women. But Chloe Levins and Jackie Garceau performed well enough at the selection race that they actually are going to be starting in Oberhof. And then on the men's side, running with Campbell Wright, Maxime Germain, Sean Doherty, and Jake Brown. But Vaclav Cervenka will be making one World Cup start this weekend as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, like in non-team race, or
no, he'll
it not say?
It doesn't say, just that they'll be racing. Yep.
Yeah, I don't actually know if Canada. I don't believe they had another qualification right now, but they seem to kind of go back and forth between doing multiple qualifications or not. But
who I was thinking about was France, because there's one really important person to us who will be racing on the IBU Cup this week. Do you know who it is? Jacques Jeffries. He qualified, for the IBU Cup, so he will be in Arbor, I believe, for the IBU Cup. Yep. So I'm very excited to see that, and we'll be obviously cheering him on as he goes on to dominate the IBU Cup this week.
Talking about former guest, did you see how Tara did on the
She
US?
will be on the IBU Cup, so she is going to be racing there. Yep.
Good.
Yeah. She had a very rough first day, but recovered pretty well.
The other thing was they came out with the schedule for next season.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see that Otepe is back on the schedule. And is it the year after that the World Championships are there?
Yeah, it's coming up soon. I don't remember exactly what year it is, but it is coming up soon. Yep.
And then the traditional finish in Oslo. But I think there's sort of a northern block at the end with Otepe. Is it Kontiolahti and then Oslo?
Yep. Yeah, finishing up. I was going to say in Scandinavia, but that's not really Scandinavia. It's sort of in the Baltic, and then going over to Scandinavia. One other thing I noticed was, and I'm trying to remember what week it is, that the short individual is making a return as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think this is going to be the third year of a scheduled short individual. So it really seems that is going to be a thing. Oh, it's in Nova Mesto.
Okay. I've always felt that the short individual was to accommodate certain unexpected conditions. You know, when there's not a lot of snow and they need to shorten the loop, that they would still be able to at least run an individual, be it on a shorter distance. But yeah, I guess maybe there's some feedback that a lot of people find the actual individual taking too long, or.
Yeah, I think clearly somebody is happy with it. Maybe all parties involved are happy with it. So it seems like one individual per year is now going to be a short individual, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me.
Do you know if it counts towards the individual globe?
It does. Yeah. Yep.
It's
I will say that
I
think that the athletes are probably pretty happy that it's at Nova Mesto. Isn't that? I know at least that when you did your data on the sprint courses, that Nova Mesto was significantly longer than the 7.5, right? For the
but I don't know if that applies to all the.
I know. I know.
Could be a different loop. Yeah. No, that's. Yeah, I just like on the one hand, I'm not a fan of individual because it seems so chaotic and you never really know where people sit. But in the end, it also at the same time feels like it's the ultimate test of who's the best biathlete, in the sense that they're all racing against the clock, and it has a significant portion of shooting compared
and endurance.
To a sprint and endurance, and it's like the total package kind of thing. Not to say that short individual isn't, but it's more that sort of traditional race that's still sort of in the back of my head. That's kind of the standard race to test.
Yeah. Well, it used to be. I mean, you go back and look at the schedules from 30 years ago, and they were running individuals all the time. Go back to the 80s. It seemed like every week was an individual. I can't imagine how Can you imagine if you put out a schedule next year and there are like 7 individuals on the schedule and the athletes would revolt? We're not doing this.
Yeah, well, some would. I mean,
yeah, this is true. Some would, and some would be quite happy. They'd be like, "All right, this is great.
Bring it on." Yeah,
yeah. I'll just run past.
I think a few more. If anything, just for making the individual globe a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know, worthy, serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the people that win it, but if there's only 2 races or 3, then.
Oh, speaking of, that was the other thing, was the season opener next year goes back to the individual sprint and pursuit as opposed to individual sprint and mass start that we had this year.
But there will be a team race first, isn't there?
Yep. So both men's and women's relays, and then the next day mixed and single mixed relay. So we just do all the relays right out of the gate.
And since you have that schedule open,
yes,
can you inform me at least on when the race for Oberhof will start?
For this week.
Yeah, I just find it hard since they don't do the Friday, Saturday, Sunday anymore necessarily.
Thursday morning at 8:20 Eastern Standard Time, so that'll be 6:20 Mountain Standard Time, so 6:20 in Calgary. And the men's sprint same time on Friday, and then the women's pursuit at 6:30 in the morning Eastern Time for me. Which is, perfect for me because the babies will be asleep. I say babies, man, they're growing up too fast. So I'll be able to get my Saturday started right.
So yesterday I was taking Lucas to drop something off at a friend, Sunday. And we started chatting, and his birthday is in August, and I just realized that this year, 2025, he will be allowed to drive.
Oh my word! Don't say that again.
And it just, it's not even him. Like I think he would, I would trust him enough to at least let him try out on a parking lot, that kind of thing. But in Holland, what I'm just used to is that, before 18, you can't, you have to turn 18 and then you can start taking lessons. Where, here, a 14-year-old, you can just go out with your parents, and I've never.
Nuts.
I'm trying to understand why that's a good thing. And I think the only benefit I see is the insurance companies raking in the money. Because my brother-in-law was saying that when their son was old enough to drive and they added him to the insurance policy, I think it went eight times as high. But, obviously, especially boys under 18,
they're dumb.
Yeah. And I mean, I was there. I wouldn't have been a good idea to put in a car. But I just find it so funny because when you talk to people here about it, they're like, well, but the parent's still next to them. It's like, oh, what the hell am I going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah.
When I was that age, we had a car where, the passenger could potentially just reach over their legs. But now there's all these fancy panels in between and everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could do other than maybe grab the steering wheel.
Oh, man. Well, I know that you guys are driving a Cybertruck these days, so.
No.
So, I'll just leave. I'm going to leave that one alone.
Distraction there.
Yeah.
That's an ugly car. Oh my god.
Oh gosh, is it ever? Yeah.
I'm happy for the people. Let's not.
Who can afford it?
To each their own.
Yeah. Hey, so before we get out of here, just wanted to make a couple of predictions. I shouldn't even say predictions, just to look ahead at the overall. So right now, for the women's overall, Franziska Preuss is having a golden year, and she has 565 points. She is 194 points ahead of Elvira, 213 ahead of Jean Monod, 250 ahead of Simone, 258 ahead of Vanessa Vogt. And then there's Suvi Minkinen, Justine Brasag-Boucher, Jean Richard, Ella Halverson, and Selina Grotian, who are further back.
You mentioned Suvi Minkinen in there as if it's like it's
crazy. It's crazy.
Go like, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Grotian,
I know, but it's crazy that we are this far into the season and Suvi Minkinen is still sitting in sixth and solidly in sixth. Like she's not just hanging on by her fingertips. obviously Preuss, we know the history with the health things. Do you think that she has built up enough of a lead? Do you think that she is going to hang on for the rest of the year? And if not, who do you think is going to be the biggest challenge coming out behind her? Elvira, Jean Monod, Simone?
I do kind of feel this is a bit of a make or break, because I feel if she has a strong weekend here, we'll probably also set her up to continue a strong second trimester, and then I think she'll be hard to beat. But yeah, I expect well, I'm curious to see if Simone and Justine Brézard-Boucher continue their improvement and will start challenging. I'm really curious to see what Lou Jean Monod is gonna do, but I at least expect Preuss to still be in yellow at the end of the
second trimester
Overhof weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, second trimester. I don't know.
You'll
like to see it.
Yeah, you'll make that prediction after this weekend. So I was looking at, I did a piece where I sort of looked at the top contenders, and I mean, this isn't a surprise to anybody, but Preuss, right, is the only one who doesn't really show that she hasn't really had a weakness, which makes sense. She's in first, and she has a healthy lead, and so you can kind of go through. I mean, Elvira obviously is skiing like a demon, but her shooting percentage is only 81.5, which is 47th on the World Cup, and that would be her worst in the last 3 seasons for shooting. So I mean, like, that's a clear problem. Jean Monod looks great, right? She is 7th in skiing so far. She's skiing great. She's hitting 90%, and her average finish, is 12.3. So kind of like, what's going on there? Why is she not having more finishes? And her standing shooting is 84.6, and you can look. I picked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times where she came to the standing shooting and sort of had some uncharacteristic misses. So there's the Kontiolahti sprint. She came into the standing shooting with the third best time at that checkpoint, and she had 2 misses, and she finished 17th. And Hochfilzen came to the standing shoot again with the third best time, and she had a miss, and she ended up just off the podium in 4th. We've talked about the Hochfilzen relay where she was sitting stand by side with Preuss, and she needed a couple extra rounds while Preuss went clean, and Germany won. In the Annecy sprint, she came to the standing shoot with the 5th best time at that checkpoint, and she had 3 misses, which was her worst standing shoot since 2022. She finished 35th. And then in the mass start, which I had actually forgotten about, she came to the final shoot in 3rd. She was 14 seconds behind Richard and 8 seconds behind Preuss. But she was in podium position, and she again had 2 misses and ended in 14th. So, 2 ways of looking at it. She either has a mental block that she needs to get past with the standing shoot, or her, you can look at it. The optimistic view is that her talent will win out, and she, maybe she had her blip. I don't know.
Well, that thought came up when you talked about Elvira, where I feel like with some athletes, sometimes you see that they've increased in speed significantly, and then if their shooting is lower, you tend to make a connection between the two.
Yeah.
But with someone like Elvira, who's always already a fast skier, I have a feeling that in the end she'll figure out her shooting and go back to her sort of average. So meaning an increase this year or the rest of the season. And similar to Lou Jean Monod, like obviously there's something that they can work on. But yeah, shooting is...
It's funny.
Like, look at Justus Strelo, right? I mean, I think he has increased ski speed, so that could be one factor that impacts his shooting. But I mean, wow, how many misses in prone did he have last year? Like 1?
Yeah, and then this year it hasn't quite been the same.
No, so yeah, and we're talking about somebody shooting awful when they hit 85%.
I know. We're really quibbling, but again, we're talking about the best of the best. So,
But,
yeah, and it's also
throw a couple of edges in there that maybe last year would just tip over, and this year won't. Like, we're talking about parts of a millimeter.
Oh, I know. It's like they call some sports a game of inches, and biathlon's a game of millimeters, like literal millimeters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just thought it was interesting, and it's. I think that there is a path. I mean, Preuss has a definite lead, but I think there's a path for these other women to.
Yeah.
It's not like
it
she's
does feel a bit like a make
it.
or break, like not in the
Yeah.
sense that
Yeah.
the results of this season are going to be the make or break, but more can be a make or break how they set up the rest of the trimester and
I agree.
of the season. But
and does the pressure increase, or if she goes out there and gets second and third while Elvira and Jean Monod are say like 9th and 10th or something like that, I mean she increases the lead. It kind of takes a lot of pressure off each shoot, and when you're already hitting like 94%, I mean you're
right. But don't
pretty
forget,
I
I showed to you, Emma Lunder told me that, they gave the other athletes a break in the first trimester.
Yeah.
But now they're going to mingle in there. So it's going to make it harder for everybody else. So.
Well, I was going to say, with Vitozzi and Tangervold coming back at some point, assuming that they can recapture... I'm thinking about this now for the first time, assuming that they can recapture some of their, excellence, and if they're able to challenge for podiums, I mean, there's just two more people who are going to be competing with Jean Monod and Elvira trying to grab those spots, and so just make it maybe more difficult for them to catch up. On the other hand, it's also somebody else that Preuss has to compete with too, so I don't know if it necessarily changes the makeup of the overall.
It does impact with the the first couple of spots having so many extra points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it definitely can make an impact. It just made me think that both Tandervold and Vitozzi are really lucky to not be on the French team.
Yeah. Who knows when we'd see him again?
now it's kind of like, okay, well, you're back, so here's your spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to say that they wouldn't do that with the French team, but I mean, it would be a tougher sell.
Yeah. For sure.
Rather than saying, well, why don't you prove yourself again on the IBU Cup first?
And then behind them, we've got obviously Simone and Vogt, who are a little bit further back. Simone's always dangerous, though. I mean, she already has a globe.
No, I have a feeling Vogt. Well, hopefully she recovered, because obviously she was supposed to run in a race in Schalke, and she had to be replaced. So. Hopefully we'll see her in top form.
Yeah, absolutely. She's had the best skiing year of her career so far. She has...
While shooting strong.
I was going to say, she has, I think, 4 total misses this year. 1 prone shot and 3 standing shots. So, pretty good. On the men's side, of course, Johannes Dingesbo is out in the lead again. Lagride is 115 points back. Jacqueline, 196 points. Perrault, 201. Samuelson, 215. Then you get to Surum, Navrat, Fabien Claude. Martin Uldal is somehow already in 9th, even without having raced 3 times. And QFM is in 10th place.
Did you mention Tarje?
Tarje is not in the top 10. So he's out of the top 10. Only.
Because he has fewer races.
Yeah. Only 5 Norwegians in the top 10 right now.
Wow. Is that a decline here?
Yeah. Things are falling apart. 4 Norwegians. I miscounted. I counted Perrault as a Norwegian. I can't do that. Okay. Him being half Norwegian. Is it over? Is Bo? Is he going to win this thing hands down?
Well, it's his to lose.
I have a real hard time seeing him losing it, even though it's only 115 points.
I don't think we've seen the best of him yet.
No, neither do I. It's just we have too much history with it, right? Like I know that Preuss has a much bigger lead in the overall, but so much history with him just getting stronger as the year goes on, and I could talk about it for a while, but anyway, I think that we kind of know where that story's going.
Yeah.
Anything else? We were going to try to keep this one short. And
I know. I'm looking
at
the clock, and I'm like, how can I delay this long enough so that we still won't make it under an hour?
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
But okay, thanks everyone for listening.
Yes, absolutely.
Looking forward to the Oberhof getting started again.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've been missing this. Yeah.
Okay, stop talking.
No.
We need to be.
All right, we're out. Bye, guys.
Yeah, we're out of here. Okay, bye.